coming to this team, as you did in 1981, we're talking really the nascent era of Jays baseball, and even baseball certainly in Ontario, pro baseball in Ontario. We're new to the game. I think Earl Weaver, might be Sparky Anderson, tells a story about coming back to the dugout and people giving him a hard time and telling everybody to shut up and everybody falling silent because they did what they were told. And you talk about your wife Arlene almost educating or trying to instruct fans in terms of how. Perhaps could you contrast, and we just saw what happened in Seattle with the incredible excess of fans down there. Maybe compare that to the early days of Blue Jay baseball and what the atmosphere was like.
Everybody remembers the playoffs last year against Texas in that 7th inning when the place went bananas and it was a 57-minute inning and it was crazy. Well, when I first got here, and I'll back up a little bit, I had been released by the Brewers in May of '81. So I had 10 days to be traded or released or whatever. And about the 10th day, my wife gets a phone call. It's Pat Gillick, and said, we have made a trade for Buck and we want him to come to Toronto. Her question was, where do you have spring training? Because the Brewers trained in Arizona and she hated it. And he said, Florida. And she went, yeah, we're going to Florida again. So anyway, I go to, and it's late in my career. I'm, probably at that time I was 32. And I'd played in Kansas City for 8 years and Milwaukee for 3.5 years. And now I was going to Toronto. So I said, well, I guess this is it. My career's going to be over. I'll go to Toronto and that'll be it. So I went, and it was cold. The first night I got there, it was freezing in May and rainy, and I thought, man, I've really hit rock bottom. So, I wanted to know, where all the Eskimos were and everything else, and you'd have to find where Toronto is on the map and all of that. But Pat Gillick told me, he said, we brought you here to teach the pitchers how to pitch and teach Ernie Whitt how to catch. And we don't care what you do, just do that. And I figured I'd play a year and finish it out well. As you know, I played 6 years, and here I am. You can't get rid of me anymore. But it's been a wonderful run, and it was a cultural change, too, because like you say, Dave, in '81, they didn't sell beer at the ballpark. And that had a very negative effect on the audience. So my wife came from Milwaukee, which was the center of the beer world, and now they're drinking beer at the ballpark all the time, and all the Brewer fans are having a great time drinking beer and celebrating. And she got there, and it was like a whisper. It was the tennis clap and the golf clap, and isn't that nice? And she goes, what's wrong with you people? Let's cheer, they're winning.
Well, also fans at that point, having watched other teams all their lives, are just as excited to see the Yankees and the Red Sox come to play.
Excited.
More excited
they
than to
have
actually
better
see
players.
The
They had a lot better players. They had recognizable names and all of that. So it was a growing period. And Bobby Maddock was the first manager that I had, 1981. And then Bobby Cox came in 1982. And that's when everything started to change. Bobby Cox came from the Atlanta Braves. First year in spring training, he looked around and there was players everywhere. Pat Gillick had done such a great job of developing the farm system that there were players everywhere in our farm system. Guys I didn't even know when I was a teammate of the Major League team, and now I could see all these kids, and I'm going, you got Barfield and Bell and Mosby and Upshaw and Griffin and Garcia, and there were players everywhere. But Bobby Cox came in and just started that winning mentality, and he utilized the platoon system, and we grew into a very aggressive team.